Welcome to N News. Let's get started.
You'd think this was a plot straight out of a Hollywood movie, a brazen, daylight robbery at the most famous museum in the entire world. But this wasn't fiction. This was the shocking reality on October 19th, 2025. A team of thieves pulled off a textbook heist at the Louvre, right in Paris, and they got away with priceless national treasures in less time than it takes to make a cup of coffee. Okay, let's get right into this incredible story.
And this was a huge deal, not just about the money. The French president himself said it was an attack on their history. I mean, these weren't just some shiny objects, they were symbols of the entire country.
Okay, what's just wild here is how fast this all went down. At 9:30 a.m., just 30 minutes after the Louvre even opened, a truck pulls up with a furniture lift, something you'd see all over Paris. A minute later, two guys are already going up to the Apollo Gallery. They smash a window, which, by the way, was reportedly unsecured, and they're in. You hear the sound of disc cutters as they slice into reinforced cases, and then, just like that, they're out. By 9:37, they're back down, on scooters, and just blending into the Paris morning traffic. The whole thing, from start to finish, took only 7 minutes. They were inside the Apollo Gallery for just 3 minutes and 58 seconds. Think about that. Less than 4 minutes inside one of the most famous, most secure museums on Earth. That's not just a robbery, that's surgical. It screams professional, meticulous planning. So the big question, right? How did they actually pull this off? Well, the plan was shockingly simple, and because of that, it was incredibly bold. Let's break down the anatomy of this thing. Okay, so here it is, broken down into 5 simple, almost unbelievable steps. They literally turned a regular old furniture lift into a Trojan horse, parking it right outside at 9:30 in the morning. They smashed their way in, cut through reinforced cases like they were nothing, grabbed these priceless pieces of history, and were back down on the street and gone before anyone could even process what had just happened. The thieves may have been fast, but the items they stole, well, they represent centuries of French history. So let's get into Act 2 and take a look at what was actually taken. And believe me, these aren't just pretty accessories. They are symbols of power, romance, and imperial glory. So first up, we've got a set of jewels that comes from one of the most famous figures in all of history. We are talking about a personal gift from Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte himself, an incredible piece of history. This amazing emerald and diamond set, with the necklace and matching earrings, was a gift from Napoleon to his second wife, Empress Marie-Louise. And you have to understand, these weren't just gems. They were a statement, a symbol of a brand new empire trying to cement its power and prestige during a really pivotal time in Europe. Next, let's jump forward in time. The thieves didn't stop there. They also targeted a stunning set of jewels that belonged to the wife of the last king to ever rule France. This sapphire set belonged to Queen Marie Amélie, wife of King Louis-Philippe I. They took a necklace, a tiara, and a pair of earrings. This collection tells a totally different story, connecting us to another chapter of French royalty. It just goes to show you, no matter what was happening in politics, these jewels remained a constant symbol of France. And for their final grab, the thieves went after pieces from the Second French Empire. Items that belonged to the absolutely iconic, incredibly fashionable Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III. I mean, the sheer opulence of this era is just on another level. Just listen to this. They stole a tiara with over 200 pearls and almost 2,000 diamonds. And on top of that, a brilliant diamond brooch. These were personal items of Empress Eugenie, a woman who was a global fashion icon in her time. This is where the story gets even more like a movie. In their rush to get away, the thieves made one huge mistake. In the middle of their so-called perfect crime, one of the most important pieces of all literally slipped right through their fingers. This is what they dropped: the crown of Empress Eugenie. It's an absolute masterpiece, made for the 1855 Paris Exposition, with 56 huge emeralds and over 2,400 diamonds. And in their rush, one of the thieves just fumbled it. It was found near the scene,
And yeah, it was damaged, but the fact that it wasn't lost forever is pretty much the only silver lining to this whole story.
In terms of pure cash value, the stolen items are estimated to be worth around 88 million euros. But honestly, that number is almost meaningless. As the museum and the French government keep saying, their historical value is simply incalculable. I mean, how do you put a price tag on a nation's history? You can't.
As wild as this heist was, it's actually not the first time a museum has been hit in such a huge way. This theft is really just the latest chapter in a long, crazy history of daring museum heists. Believe it or not, the most famous painting in the world was also stolen from the Louvre, but the style was totally different. Back in 1911, a guy who worked there just hid in a closet overnight and walked out the next day with the Mona Lisa under his coat. This 2025 heist was all about speed and force. The Mona Lisa job was pure stealth. And here's a fun fact. Before it was stolen, the Mona Lisa wasn't really that well known to most people. The massive worldwide manhunt to find it is what actually made it the most famous painting on Earth. The thief was caught 2 years later trying to sell it, and the painting came home.
Look no further than the legendary Isabella Stewart Gardner heist in Boston back in 1990. Two guys dressed as cops knock on the door, get let in, and they spend 81 minutes just wandering around picking what they want. They walked out with 13 priceless pieces. Vermeer, Rembrandt, you name it. It's the single largest property theft in history. And to this day, total mystery. Not a single piece has ever surfaced.
And as this spooky reminder, the empty frames still hang on the walls where the paintings used to be. Well, the police are now on the hunt for 4 main suspects. But the real game changer is this. The thieves left behind a helmet and a glove, and forensics found DNA on them. That could be the one thing that cracks this whole case wide open. Plus, investigators think it might have been an inside job, which just adds a whole other layer of drama.
And no surprise here, this has forced a massive rethink on security. The biggest idea being thrown around is putting a permanent police station right inside the Louvre itself.
The heist also showed some major problems at the museum. The director of the Louvre actually admitted to what she called a terrible failure, saying their security system was super outdated. They had huge blind spots with their cameras, which is exactly how the thieves got in.
It just shows you the constant battle these historic places face, trying to protect a centuries-old building while needing 21st century security. These guys found that one weak point, and they just blew it wide open.
So in the end, this whole thing forces us to ask a really tough question. We guard our most precious artifacts with history, with reinforced glass, with lasers and alarms. But is pure, raw audacity the one thing we can never truly protect against? Because this latest heist proves that even with all our tech, the boldest plans, carried out with chilling precision, can still succeed. And it just leaves you wondering, what and when is the next masterpiece of crime going to be?